Hello, everyone, and happy Halloween! And welcome to the latest edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, the Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of JakeStake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. If you're listening to our audio editions, please give us a 5-star rating and please subscribe and please download as well. It is our Halloween episode, and I got the perfect guy to be my guest today. He is an actor. You may have seen him on Criminal Minds, Beyond Borders, The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and Station 19. But however, the reason why this is Halloween is because his involvement with the American Horror Story franchise. He played Speed Wagon on American Horror Story Cult and Charlie on American Horror Stories. So please help me welcome Cameron Cowperthwaite to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I am honored that this is the Halloween episode. Halloween is one of my favorite holidays, so this is quite a treat. No pun intended.
I know, I won't throw a lot of tricks on there, but however, you and Ryan Murphy and that crew over there, oh my God, those tricks can be scary and nasty as heck.
I know. It's quite an honor to be a part of anything that Ryan does. He has such a pulse on, I think, what frightens us all, and he does such a great job with pushing those boundaries and those limits on the American Horror Story shows.
Awesome. So let's get right. But before we get to American Horror Story, we got to talk about you and your origin story. So when did you get interested in acting, Cameron, and how did that passion evolve and desire to pursue a career in the entertainment industry?
I was kind of immersed in the business, I guess, from a young age because my parents met at the Alabama Shakespeare Festival. I know when you hear Alabama and Shakespeare, you don't normally think like those would go together, but at the time it was the second biggest Shakespeare festival next to the one in Edinburgh. And I guess kind of running this entertainment gamut was in the family business. My parents moved out to LA to pursue careers in film and television. My dad subsequently changed his goals when the ideas of independent contracting became too stressful. But my mom hung around, and she is a script supervisor and a director now in New York City. And it's just something that I grew up around. Visiting your mom at work day was to a set, whether it was film or television. And going to the movies every weekend was such a ritual in my household. My dad and I would sometimes even do like double features. So I think I've always been enamored with it. They took me to plays and Broadway when I was growing up. So I kind of got the whole run of theater and film and TV. And I guess I knew that it was always a job. I didn't want to pursue it for a long time because I think I knew the ins and outs and how hard it actually is. Like I didn't come to LA when I started my stint with acting, like thinking it was going to be easy peasy. But I think I got to a place when I graduated college that I didn't want to do what I was doing. And I saw all my friends kind of going off and chasing their dreams of working in the jobs they pursued, whether it was their major in college or they found something that they loved. And I always knew I loved this. And I think I had this reality check when I turned 21 that I was like, I just have to pull this trigger. So a friend of mine and I road tripped out from the East Coast to the West Coast, and the rest is history.
I gotta say, I commend you from going from the East Coast to the West Coast to Los Angeles from the East Coast, because the thing is, I made my journey a couple years ago from Overland Park, Kansas to NYC with my brother. So it was fun. It was fun.
Did you drive?
We took a truck. A moving van to move me from New York from Overland Park, Kansas to New York to Manhattan.
I commend the journey. I have to say that the middle portion of the United States is gorgeous, but it gave me a lot of anxiety because there was so much that was exactly the same. What like the exterior, the landscape, that there were portions of time where we were just like driving through Nebraska for 10 hours, and I was so concerned that we were still going the right way. You know what I mean? It kept, because nothing was changing. And it was gorgeous, but it was one of those things where I was like, oh my God, this is so new because I'd really never left home, honestly. I'm from Wilmington, Delaware, which is a really small town. Everybody knows everybody if you're like a single person. So
Oh wow.
this was a huge, huge leap.
I have you there because Evelyn Park's Kansas City Jewish community, everyone knows everyone. So I agree.
So
I
you get
agree.
it.
So I get it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good and bad in certain regards. I think it's been fun to, sometimes doing these stints on television. One person will tell one person, and every now and then I'll get a message from someone I haven't heard from in years, and it's kind of a nice way to rekindle, old friendships and talk to people from back home.
Absolutely. So speaking of experiences, because you had a lot of experiences on different sets, such as the Criminal Minds Beyond Borders, the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and Station 19. So what were some of the lessons that you learned from those respective experiences that helped you grow as an actor?
Um, I think you're like it's such a good perspective to have that every set is different. I think that is such a great learning experience in and of itself because the art form as it stands, I think, is really built on collaboration. So you have to kind of be willing to go in ready to be a team player and, know your role, whether you're the series regular number one or you're a guest star that's just there for one episode. Like everybody's job is of equal importance in certain regards. I think that's something that I really took away from going from set to set was that it truthfully can't function without everyone that's there. Like everybody needs to be there in order for this to work. And it's a miracle that anything does work. And it's an even bigger miracle that anything is good. So I think something that I've taken away from going from set to set is just learning that it is different. Don't bring any baggage from any one set to another. Come in as fresh as you can, as prepared as you can, and there's a certain amount of trust that goes into doing this. I think acting can be so vulnerable, and if you aren't willing and ready to trust the people that are at the helm of the ship, then it can become a kind of a tougher, more closed off journey. But I think going into it knowing that every new opportunity is its own chance to do something that you love is an important lesson that I think I still carry with me even now.
Okay, so we got to talk about, speaking of sets, we got to talk about some of the spookiest sets as a non-horror fan, I'd be terrified to walk on the stage of, and that is the American Horror Story set. And even were you a fan of the show before you auditioned?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I remembered, and I still remember, and I still laugh about it with my college roommates. We used to all get a huge group of people together and watch American Horror Story on Wednesday night. Um, from season one, I mean, I remember we did it for years. Um, and it was so wild to be able to like I talked about that with people on the set. I was like nerding out when I showed up the first day. I'm sure people were like, "Okay, Cam, I get it, I get it. It's a popular show." But it was such a fun experience to have to be able to be such a fan and then show up and see how the cooks in the kitchen prepare the whole thing.
Absolutely. I gotta say, one of my favorite moments was actually Stevie Nicks' cameo in Coven when she did Seven Wonders as the girls
Yeah.
were facing their final test. I gotta say, that was still one of my favorite moments. But it must have been hard when you were in the same room as Sarah Paulson and Evan Peters, who've been along this ride with with American Horror Story.
I honestly, they were well, first off, they're both amazing human beings. Just just experts at their craft and experts at like how a set is run and like it is just so enamoring to watch them work. I think I found myself sometimes in the middle of takes like, "Oh shit, I have a line." Because you're watching them like do their thing. And Sarah Paulson is the queen. She's a legend, and and so is Evan, and they've been doing it for so long that actually they sort of just they're so prepared, and they want it to be so good that it just I didn't find it intimidating so much as I found it kind of enthralling and more of like a pick me up. Like I wanted to show up and have as much of a presence as I could because that's sort of how they carried themselves. And it's like it just kind of everybody kind of gets roped into this whirlwind, and they are so gracious and so sweet and so ready to play in the sandbox that is acting, that you find yourself just, again, for lack of a better pun, drinking the Kool-Aid.
Speaking of Kool-Aid, I gotta say, Cold American Horror Story Cold was probably one of the scariest seasons, right next to Hotel, which was Lady Gaga's season where she played the
Hmm.
Countess. And I watched American Horror Story from afar. So, what drew you to the cult world, and how did you and can you describe how you got into the character of Speed Wagon?
I remember watching a lot of YouTube videos of these Proud Boys that kind of existed, I guess sort of prior to Trump being elected, but then kind of really came out of the woodwork upon his, rise to the presidency. And it was quite a rambunctious, die-hard group of individuals that I think I just tried to think about, what I'm most passionate about, and sort of kind of dial it to 11, and sort of, because you have to find the humanity within the role, even if you're playing a crazy person, which all of us Proud Boys were at the time. But I just kind of tried to measure up the level of intensity and passion that they had in their own mindset, and just kind of hone in on that sense, because it really, like, it was weird kind of playing characters that are inspired by people that were walking around.
I gotta say that because the thing is, we talked about method. There's method acting, and it reminds me so much of. I go directly to Heath Ledger's Joker and Dark Knight, and then
Hmm.
Jared Leto with Suicide Squad, because we all heard the horror stories that Viola Davis said about her time as Amanda Waller, and she all of a sudden they found them, there's rats. What were some of
Yeah,
the ways that because you guys are able to jump out of those characters, because those characters on Horror Story are probably what some of the most extreme characters on television.
yeah. Because we all I think kind of committed pretty hard to. I think one of the things I found interesting was we all kind of committed to revving up Evan. Um, it was really fun to be in this kind of group of guys that off camera were shouting and screaming and yelling and kind of sort of going off script here and there just to fuel the fire that Evan was lighting. So we were all going crazy behind the screen in a sense to generate this kind of vibrating energy in a room. So a lot of the time, I felt like after those scenes were done, you sort of came out of character because you were exhausted. Like I would sleep in my chair sometimes, just like after some scenes, because, or in my trailer at lunch, there were so many people that were napping because it was just so draining energy wise that I found it was so cathartic to just kind of let all this shit out. You know what I mean? That I didn't find myself carrying too much negativity. In fact, I usually felt better at the end of the day after screaming.
That's good to hear, but I gotta say, you must have had a lot of tea and a lot of cough drops to get your throat back.
I did. I try to drink as much water as possible. I mean, normally I go to coffee until my hands start to shake to keep my energy up because set days can be pretty long. But on that, I did my fair share of tea and honey.
Alrighty. If you had the opportunity to go back to a previous season and insert yourself in there, which season would you choose?
Hotel. I think I would choose hotel. I thought the hotel pilot was one of the best pilots of the show and set it off on such an insanely wild and horribly poetic kind of beautiful mess that just carried that all the way through. I found that season to be like palpable, and I remember thinking also. Lady Gaga and the wardrobe and all the characters and the set design. It was just so gorgeous all the way around. I kind of wish I got to play in that season, that world.
I gotta say that hotel room was scary. I think I would find myself in Coven.
Yeah, the witches are badass. That's just a fact. That season is just so badass.
I totally agree. I totally agree. So a couple of years, so we all know that Cult ended in 2017, but
Mhm.
5 years later, you're called back to the American Horror Story franchise for the spin-off, The American Horror Stories, and you played this character Charlie. So what did it mean to you to return to American Horror Story?
I mean, it was so exciting. It's impossible not to be excited. I mean, when Ryan Murphy calls, you just say yes because you just know it's going to be good. He puts such care and consideration into everything that he does. So does Brad Falchuk. I mean, everybody there has been there for forever. You see a lot of the same faces. Well, the writer of my episode, Crystal, who was fantastic, was a writer on Cult. So you're like, oh my God, how have you been? Like, it's such a great um re-meeting of this almost like summer camp vibe that I could not be more excited to come back. And it was such a great episode. When I got to read through the pages, my palms were sweating. Like I was so excited to be a part of that kind of finite short story.
And I want to compare to you to, I would love to learn about the characters between Charlie versus Speed Wagon. What were some of the similarities and differences between both characters? And is it possible to say spoilers ahead?
Yeah, I guess I should say spoilers ahead if you haven't seen the episode yet, but um, I think that the 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 similarities is always that you're trying to bring yourself to the role in some certain regard, a version of yourself that you may or may not know exists at the time until you kind of dive as deep as you can to be as honest as you can. But other than that, I kind of loved the duality that Charlie has. Speedwagon is so dialed in. Like there is one existence and that is it. And I kind of loved Charlie's open-minded thoughts of the ether and the afterlife and what could be. And I think Speedwagon didn't know anything other than what was. So it was kind of the opposite in certain regards, which I found to be really fun to get to kind of explore all the different cultures. For example, Charlie and Sam have this wonderful banter in the script where their meet cute is revolving around different burial sequences or cultural afterlife um, ideologies and anything like that they're kind of just back and forth playing tennis on. And it was really fun to kind of go through and learn about all these other cultures. I found that to be one of the most interesting parts of the character.
That's amazing to hear that because, and to be around writers that you can grow and trust you and actually know that you can take a challenge. You're up for a challenge and know that you can write. You can say it's okay to act yourself out of the comfort zone.
Oh yeah, and this script for sure, the horror story script was, I remember being very, very scared. Because you get so excited when you're given the opportunity to even show up on set. I mean, lightning has to strike in the same place twice to even get a part. So, but once that wears off and you realize what you have to do, I was very frightened. The Necros episode demanded a lot. Every scene was like, whether it was different jargon that I wasn't, used to. There were certain words that you always have to look up and make them sound like it was something I would say every day when I was speaking on another culture's death ritual or burial practice. And then also there were scenes like the ending scene was like 9 pages of just me and Sam going back and forth in an incredibly emotional sequence at the end of the episode that I was terrified to do because you're praying that this goes well. But I think all in all, I trusted everybody that was there, and Madison Iseman, my scene partner, was the best. Logan, our director, just guided us in the direction we needed to go and kind of just like let us fly. And it was really a wonderful experience.
That's incredible, especially to hear about that. And also on Instagram, it looked like you were taking you showed your fan. It kind of spooked me out about you were doing you're under all that makeup or like
Hmm.
molding. So I got to give you props because I wouldn't be able to handle all that molding.
Yeah, it's tough, you're kind of but you just go with the flow. I just try my best to just go with the flow as much as I can, because so much it just isn't in your control. So I try to take every experience as its own fun, thing.
Awesome. So, what have been some of the challenges that you face breaking into the entertainment industry, and also since you've been on Horror Story and a lot of other stuff, are you worried about getting typecasted, or has that popped into your mind?
Um, no, I think part of me enjoy. I think I find myself being typecast in the sense that I play or audition for or get cast in a lot of either anti-heroic roles or just straight up villains. Um, which I guess some people might be like, "Oh, you're playing a villain a lot of the time," because I really don't read for many heroes, and I feel like it would be fun to be the hero, but the villain is the shit. The villain is. I think people argue that your hero is only as good as the villain is bad. So I kind of take hold and ownership of that, and I find it to be a lot of fun to be cast as the villain in a lot of stuff.
And over the past couple of years on JakesTake.com, I've been revealing some of my favorite villains from the Power Rangers, from Batman to Once Upon a Time. And I got to say, for every Joker, there has to be a Batman. For every
Hmm.
Palpatine, there has to be a Yoda. For
Oh yeah.
every Dolores Umbridge, there needs to be Professor McGonagall.
Hmm.
For every Lord Zedrita Repulsa, there has to be a Power Rangers.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. And it's fun to be able to play these. I think the villain role is kind of something that speaks to me a little bit, just in the sense that we're always attracted to the actor that plays them. I think like Heath Ledger's a great example. You're just everybody was enthralled with that performance. And I find that to be very, very inspiring when, you're looking at some of these darker roles.
You just brought up Heath Ledger. I got to say, Ian McDermott as Palpatine for though playing that character for almost 40 years.
Hmm.
And everyone
Unbelievable.
has, and if we're while we're on horror, we got to talk about Bela Lugosi as Dracula
Yeah, it's just
because
so
those are,
good.
and I got to say, have you seen Abbott Costello meets Frankenstein?
I have not.
It's really good. I know he plays a little bit of an older Dracula, but it's like so good to see him play that part one final time.
Well, I'll have to check it out. I'll give myself the homework assignment.
You got that. So speaking of Halloween, what are some of your Halloween traditions?
I always love doing a group costume. I have a lot of friends that are actors or directors or producers or editors or people that are just kind of creative entities in and around the business. And I find that creative people really go all out during Halloween. So it's been fun to get involved with some group costumes. I think that's my favorite thing, is like getting like five people to dress as like whatever duo, trio, whatever costume you can kind of come up with at the time. That to me is something that is very, very fun.
For me, I'm a little bit of a lightweight when it comes to Halloween. I get spooked very easily, so that's the reason why I watch American Horror Story from distance. But I will not survive if I go to Universal Studios for Halloween Horror Nights.
Well, I mean, I did hear this year, I think I read this right, that they're bringing the Death Eaters to uh um to Halloween Horror Nights this year, which I'm excited about because I love the Harry Potter world.
Same with me. I'm like, can you say coming next soon, Voldemort and Bellatrix Lestrange?
I would be in first in line.
Same with me. Like, I can handle the Universal monsters, like the classic ones, like yeah, like Dracula. I like Dracula, Frankenstein, the Bride. But like, I can't handle all those walk around zombies and everything. They spook the
I
heck
know,
out of
with the
me.
chainsaws, it's a lot. It's a lot. Even thinking about it now, my palms are sweating. But I think I'm one of
Sorry,
those crazy people that love to like be scared. Like I go to the movie to get scared. So I'm probably doing it to myself at this point.
I gotta say, for me, it's Scooby Doo. A Scooby Doo marathon of like the 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo, the spooky parts series of Scooby Doo, where Scooby Doo transport unleashes 13 demons and witches and vampires. That's my I can get spooky that easily.
Yeah. Yeah. Scooby Doo, I was my childhood fantasy to be in an episode of Scooby Doo.
My favorite ones where he teamed up with Batman and Robin.
Classics.
Absolutely, absolutely. And another Halloween thing I love to do is just like I get really jumped easily, so there's no way I'm watching. I get jumped easily watching Thriller, especially the wolf scene, the workout scene.
Really.
Yeah,
And does American Horror Story keep you up at night?
a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, it's scary. It really even on my my season, I'm not a huge fan of clowns. I don't love clowns. I find clowns to be horrifying and haunting, and I don't think that they're funny. And it was interesting when I didn't know that clowns were the thing, I think until like halfway through my first stint in the first episode that I was in, and then I was like, "Holy shit, what is that?" Because I started seeing people with those huge clown masks on, and that was hard. Those were hard days for me.
I totally agree. I get scared with clowns, and same with It. Both versions. Tim Curry did a phenomenal job
Yeah,
of playing that of Pennywise, and same with Stellan's, and same with I believe which Scott Skarsgård
Bill,
brother, Bill.
Bill,
Oh
yeah,
my
Bill
God,
Skarsgård.
he can. I think he could have been like that. Scale spooks me for Halloween. So anyway, let's make Halloween less spooky and talk about social media. So, what are some of your
Okay.
favorite social media platforms that you use to connect with your fans?
Mainly just Instagram. I just mainly use Instagram. I love the kind of photo. I'm not a big Facebook person. I'm not a big Twitter person. I kind of like the photo journal that Instagram seems to be at this point in time. Like, yeah, there's the comments and all that, but I'm mostly just scrolling through the photos. I feel like I'm more of a visual person than I would find myself on like Facebook or Twitter.
I can't do TikTok for the life of me.
I don't even have one. I
You
don't
we
have
go.
TikTok.
Cheers to that. Fist
I
bump in
know.
the.
Everybody I know is just like scroll, 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 and like so addicted that I'm like I can't do it. I'll fall into the hole that
The
is
vortex.
yeah.
Same with me because because I have a lot of stuff to take care of, and I do not want to get lost in a rabbit hole.
And I will. I would scroll for like hours. So I don't even do it. I don't even afford myself the opportunity.
Alrighty, so one of the last question I have for you is if you had the opportunity to work with actors who want to go and like let's audition for Ryan and for Brad for American Horror Story, or for any acting job, what advice would you share with them?
The audition process is so different now after COVID because nobody goes in the room anymore. A lot of my advice in the beginning would have revolved around like how you kind of carry yourself into the room because I guess doing the scene well, um, like really spoke for itself, and it was really about how to kind of manage the nerves of like sitting in that waiting room, which was so fucking painful. Auditioning is always and will be, I think, scary. But honestly, my advice is to just do not let not hearing anything throw you. I still struggle with this daily because a lot of time you put your work out there, you think it was great, you won an Academy Award in that audition, and you don't hear anything. And it can be very disheartening and very discouraging and very, very difficult to deal with. Like because there's a good portion of your ego that has to tell yourself that you're good enough to do this, because you really don't hear it from anybody else for a very long time. So my advice would be to just deep breath, If you don't hear anything, move on. Next one's coming around the corner. Focus on that. And again and again and again and again. I still struggle with that, honestly. Like, I'm trying to right now take my own advice. So, but that's what I would tell people.
Awesome. And Cameron, one more time for the social media, just in case people didn't listen. Where can they connect with you?
My name, at Cameron Cowperthwaite on Instagram, if you want to connect.
Awesome. So, guys, if you miss an episode of Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast, visit our Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Spotify, and Spreaker channels. It's Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And Cameron, just to let you know, jakes-jake.com is in the middle of its 11th year celebration.
Congratulations. That's amazing. Keep it up.
Thank you so much, Cameron. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And thank you guys so much for taking time out of your schedule. I hope all of you have a safe Halloween. And I hope that you all have fun. Cameron, thank you so much for being here. Until next time, everybody, thank you for your time. Thank you for your thumbs ups and 5 stars. I appreciate it. Until next time, have a great one, everybody. Goodbye.